Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Kato and I'm so happy you're joining me again today on the Reverse Confetti YouTube channel. Today I have sort of a sequel for the card I made on yesterday's video, which was on my channel, which I made for the Reverse Confetti hop, and that is why you see me stamp 2 images even though I'm only using one. I made 2 of these cards all together during that day, and I loved making them. They're both circle cards, but they're both very different. Today I am using the top image from the Dog Days stamp set, and I'm stamping that in some Copic friendly ink onto Clairefontaine DCP 250 GSM cardstock. And I left the stamp in my Misti so that after coloring this I can emboss it. I kept the coloring really simple, but I'm not super stoked about how this coloring turned out. I chose the wrong colors. I'm going to admit it, this brown is way too light, and the orange that I chose to color the air mattress in was a little bit too close to the brown. The dog kind of disappears onto the float, and I don't like it very much, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes an image just doesn't work out, and I could have recolored this, but honestly, I do like how the orange contrasts with the blue of the background that I will have. So I kept it as is. Not every card can be perfect, and I do really love how the background turned out, so let's focus on that. I did stamp it again like I said I would with Versafine Onyx Black, and I used WOW Clear Gloss Superfine Embossing Powder to make the outline glossy and shiny and a beautiful crisp black. Now I die cut out the circle because I am going to die cut another circle from this, but I just didn't want to work on a very large panel that I would have to trim down a lot anyway. I just wanted to ink blend, not too much cardstock. I just wanted to do this pretty quickly. So I die cut a circle out of light blue cardstock, and this really helps if you want to do very intense ink blending like I'm doing here. If you already have a colored background, it's a lot easier to layer inks on top. Now, I didn't bother to make my ink blending perfect because I will add some paint to this later. I am also going to use this Circle of Waves die, and you saw me, I dry embossed it on a piece of white cardstock. I also die cut it from a piece of white cardstock. The dry embossed piece will come in handy later, and I will talk about that a little bit more then. But for now, I just die cut it from that ink blended background that I made. Just an ombre from light blue to very dark blue. And I am layering those pieces on top of some very sturdy white cardstock pieces just to make them more sturdy, just so they would be easier to handle. No other reason, I just like to work with pieces that are a little bit less floppy. Once they're all layered up, I just added 1 layer of white cardstock. If you want to add dimension, you can absolutely add more. And then I'm taking out my white acrylic paint. All the acrylic paints I use are either white or black. I have a bunch of tiny tubes of acrylic paint that I never use, but white and black come in handy a lot for card making. So for waves, this is the easiest way to do them. And with this die cut, it is very, very easy to go with this die. All you have to do is make sure to work on the same side of each wave. So you want to make sure that if you turn your die sideways, you always paint on the right side of the wave, and this just adds some sea foam to it. Just add a bunch of paint, quite a thick layer, right on the edge of that wave, and then dry off your brush. You want to work with a pretty dry brush here. I also used a paintbrush that is quite beat up, that helps a lot for the texture, and just drag that paint towards you. I added a couple of dots of white acrylic paint to add a little bit more of an organic foamy look, and that's it. I did that for all of the waves, let them dry, and then I can work on assembling my card. To make a circle card base, I die cut 2 circles. I put a score line in one. This will be your back panel of your card base. And to the area above that score line, I add some liquid glue. You can use this to adhere to the front panel of your card base, and that will make a really sturdy hinge for your card. Don't put the hinge or the score line too close to the edge. There's no reason to put it closer to the edge. You'll have plenty of space to write on the inside. Yeah, that's it. And here you can see me working on that dry embossed piece. Now, when you have dies like this that cut out a bunch of different pieces that you can then assemble on your card base, it's tricky for me. So what I like to do is put them together on a separate piece, and especially if that separate piece has the lines of the die cut dry embossed on it, it's very handy to line them all up. And now I can adhere all of those waves together onto my card. I added a sandy colored piece of cardstock, a sand colored piece of cardstock to my card base, and then I can glue all of the waves together on top of that. I'm adding my little floating dog right on top with some foam tape, and to finish it off I'm adding some bubbles from Little Things from Lucy's cards. I struggled with the placement for these a lot because I also kind of wished I had adhered the dog a little bit differently. It's at a weird angle. I think it's just smack dab in the middle of the card height-wise. I wish I would have glued it a little bit more towards the top or to the bottom. But here you can see how there's dimension to that acrylic paint as well. So it really sits on top. That's the beauty of acrylic paint. And it really adds to that foamy effect. I love how this turned out, and it's so easy to paint it. All you have to do is be patient and let it dry before you assemble your card. Now, this is today's card, and I love, love, love how that background turned out. Not too stoked on the image, but again, not everything can be perfect. It's a handmade card, not Hallmark. If you want to see another summery circle card that I created for yesterday's hop, you can go over to my YouTube channel. I will leave the link in the description below, so you can see another circle card, very summery, but quite different, a lot more graphic, I would say. I hope you liked today's card. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I love to see you next time.